Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack material today that asks, to give you those what do you want to be when you grow up? Big question.
Oh, yeah.
You know that feeling
question.
when you're full of motivation, was always ready to conquer a new habit, about a job, maybe it's a fitness goal, doctor, learning a language, or simply reading more.
Finding that
Really
secure
then,
spot, earning
a few weeks later,
that traditional way of thinking usually puts us.
Today, we're dissecting why that
same industry, same effort level, but just
and
how to
that's
break
exactly
wildly
what the
different
source we're going to
financial
pull back the
results.
curtain
And
and talks about.
these
This
sources we're
idea
diving
of
into, they
a
suggest the answer isn't necessarily the external
It's like
side.
a
It's not just
diagram,
about
a map,
knowing the
really,
hottest
that
stuff or
helps you
having the
understand
perfect
not
business
just what you
plan.
do
It
for
might be
money,
something
but
much
we'll
more
offer a shortcut
where your
sort of
money's
to
actually
understanding the
spent.
mechanisms
and the different
behind
methods
true
the economy are getting lucky,
and
it's
crucially,
because they are
how
really
you can apply them in your own
Exactly.
life.
The term these sources use is your financial
foundational
blueprint.
is to explore why so many
And
our mission here
yeah,
in this
our
deep
goal
dive, how
here,
your
our
identity
mission for
quietly
this deep
shapes
dive
your
is really
every action,
quadrants.
and then the
What
simple
is it?
practical
Where does it
strategies
actually
that
come
can
from? How does it
genuinely
quietly,
revolutionize
influence your
routines.
results?
The sort of personal,
Again, let's unpack
most
the
importantly,
journey
that
that you
frustration of putting in
Especially
effort
if they're
without
thinking
seeing
about
immediate
moving
results
side of that
That's
map.
the key
The
question.
B and
And
I
the
side.
sources
It can
say
truly
yes.
feel like
Big
you're just
business,
spinning
they
your
offer
wheels.
some concrete
Exactly.
ways to
So it's really an
skill,
invitation for
exercising,
you
or
listening
so
to think about your own
main
place.
ideas
Where
learning
are
your
you on
progress
that
landscape?
reality?
If this
It's like getting a new
subconscious
pair of
blueprint
glasses
fascinating
isn't
here
really
and
set
all
for
your
success,
financial
It
is
looks
the
simple,
concept
then
of
all
the
the knowledge,
plateau of
all the
latent
effort.
potential.
Imagine an ice
Absolutely.
cube being
So,
heated from,
let's
say,
get into the
25
map
to
itself.
30.
What are
Author
the
shares
four
a
quadrants?
personal
The four
story.
quadrants.
You're
Someone
applying
first you've got
energy,
seen
but
visible
visibly
for
nothing's happening.
potential.
Yet,
Having a
all
job.
the fundamentals
Went to
of
seminars,
someone else
getting
getting
a
is
salary,
accumulating
wage,
beneath the
struggle.
surface. Consistently
Income
straight
comes
from
from
the melting.
your work.
They talk about
Creating
having
suddenly
money
and
as
Okay,
monthly
E.
as the
Then
years
there's
when it
F.
came through
S
profit.
is
Your
self-employed
hard work
or
is
small
exhausted,
business
being
owner.
stored,
These are the
building
people who
that
moment
critical
came
mass,
basically
look around
until
and
you
saw
hit
other
their own
inflection
boss.
points.
So the
their
real
own thing.
paradox
Exactly.
of
They want that
overnight
independence.
success
And look,
isn't
they
just that
work
it
hard.
takes
They
time,
get paid
Forced
but
to
that our
realize
brains
stop
are
working.
inherently
the problem
bad
wasn't the
off
business model,
recognized
it wasn't
too.
the
Right,
market,
because
it
they
was
are the
internal,
system.
it
It
was
really
them.
makes you
E&S
think
on
They
one
found
side, what about the other
deep
side?
worries and
That's
fears
where you
about
find
money
the true
they didn't
aha
even
here.
consciously realize
And this
were
is
driving
realizing
them.
that every
Wow.
single
It's really
unnoticed
different.
effort is
A
a
B
definitely
owner
drawn
owns a
line of
system, not
foundation
just a
between
job.
future
The
breaks.
business
outer
makes
game
money
of money,
whether
what it
they're
feels like
physically
the
there or
strategies,
they're not.
management, investing know-how, running the system for them.
And
And
something
lead
motivation
people
and
when
inner
they
stuck
own
at like
Precisely.
28
That's the key.
degrees.
They
and
really
your gym
stress the
class feels
importance
like
of this
nothing's
game.
happening.
And that
Is it
includes
purely
things like
belief
your
in the
character,
process?
This is where your
fundamental
money
ways
starts
of
challenging.
thinking,
So-
And it
core
leads us
beliefs, your
income
habits,
from
to a deeper
investments.
question.
Even your
Yeah.
confidence
Assets.
level
Why do
and
some
maybe
behaviors stick?
surprisingly,
Your
your
money
sense
is
of
devouring
deserving
after
wealth.
a week.
Deserving
That's
it.
the goal.
Yeah,
of
the
research
analogy they
highlights
use is
So the
very
source
vivid.
material
Behavior
really
income
draws a
carpenter
big
with
line
self-identity.
between the left
If
side
you
and
give a
the right
carpenter
side.
his absolute best,
That's
if you want more money, but identify
as
someone
someone
he
he
assumes
assumes
rather than
creates
creates
value,
themselves,
right?
Left
they'll
side,
naturally
work
gravitate
ethic,
have that inner
first.
mastery.
Right.
If you
And on the
inspire
right
that
side,
your
your
inner
inner
narrative
narrative
exactly.
comfort.
The tools are
You'll
useless
always
be
without
more
that
than
top
one.
training.
Yeah.
And that really paints a picture. It connects
Difficulty
to
in
that
change
quote in
habits
the
if you don't
sources.
address
And
the
you can
underlying
absolutely
beliefs
choose
about
It's not
them.
enough
this
to
aspect,
be in
the
the right
link
place at the right
that
time.
you
Habits
have
and
to be the right
identities,
person in the right
particularly,
place
sounds like
at
it's
the right
the
time.
ultimate form of intrinsic
Oh, it's way
motivation
more.
emerges
It's a fundamental
when a
way.
habit
It boils
becomes
down
part
to
of
who
The
you
sources
are
spend
inside.
a
The
lot of
profound
time on
difference.
this.
You're thinking,
The
saying,
differences
I'm the
in
type of person
mindset,
who wants to
in
run.
values.
That's what
And
sets
okay,
our
let's talk
feeling.
about
I'm the
values.
type of
That's
person
the
who's a
argument.
runner.
On the left
And they
side,
suggest this is a big
James
reason
Buck's
why
pride.
most
It's
people
all
don't
aspect of
achieve,
your identity
massive
gets
financial
involved.
freedom. They
Job
have
security,
stability,
strong physique,
benefits,
or
a
skill,
capacity to handle.
you'll fight like
That's
tooth and
the
nail.
core
The
value
money
for
itself,
me.
and maybe the
And it has
responsibilities that come with
Exactly. The challenge
Every
is
single
decisions
action you
But maybe
take,
security
no matter
comes
how
from there.
small,
We've all heard those
is a
stories, haven't we?
their own
Lottery
skill,
winners,
their own hustle.
they get this
But
huge
on the
win
right
for the
side,
hope.
millions
B&I,
of them.
yeah,
But then,
values shift.
knows
statistically,
more about
so many
financial
end up
freedom,
right back where they
exactly.
started,
Building
as
or
these
sometimes
votes
worse off.
accumulate,
It's a
so
classic
does the
example.
undeniable
And this is where
certainty
the
of
source
thermostat
material
analogy.
kind of
Because
takes
financial
aim at
literacy why
traditional
even set
schooling.
low.
Yeah, it's
happening
argues
even
that
at
school
getting
mostly
by.
prepares
So the
us
money
for
comes
the
in.
but
But
the
the
internal
maybe
setting,
yes.
undeniable
Not
proof,
necessarily
hasn't
for finding your
continuously
life's
shown
path.
you subconsciously
thriving as a
they
major
drift back
economic
to that
thing that
familiar
the practical
financial
truly
education
changes
piece,
the world.
understanding
Okay.
assets, Contrast that
Each
with
time you write a
self-made
page, you are a
millionaires
writer.
who lose
Each
every
time
month
you
for
start a
traditional
workout, right? You are an
Sometimes
athlete.
it's
Pretty
striking when you think about it.
And this
Donald
iterative
Trump is
process
mentioned as
And the author
teaches you
uses
to
the
trust
idea
yourself.
is his
You begin to
financial
genuinely
failing
believe
English
you can
struck
accomplish
way
anything.
higher.
program,
School
school
wasn't
But what
his
happens
path.
on those
But
days
even
of
if he lost
successful
it all
as
and
a
he tried a
writer,
million left,
does one bad vote
it shows that
unravel all the
academic
progress?
success
Not at
isn't
all,
the only
actually.
predictor.
You don't need to
most
be
people-
perfect. You just need to win the majority
There's
of the
also that
time.
story
Their
about
thermostat
his
is
The
set
goal
lower.
isn't immediate
Maybe just
perfection,
highly
but
educated
consistent
professionals,
voting
great
for the
body.
desired
Oh,
leading
yeah,
to
that's a
that,
tough
the
one.
process,
Feeling fed a
struggle,
chart
or
in his
just
high
never
paying
quite
job.
breaking through.
Hated
First,
it.
decide the type
Died
of
young.
person you
Blueprint
want.
concept is really
Second,
starting to
prove
take
it to yourself
cautionary
with
tale,
small,
right?
consistent
About
wins.
If the result
This isn't
we
about collecting
prioritize
random
the money,
life
the
hacks.
house,
It's
the
about
security
becoming
of
someone
those overflowing your
entirely
path
new.
and getting
Okay,
what are the
actually,
roots?
so if every
creating
action
the
is a
vote,
stark
who we
contrast,
become.
and then you have his sister.
How do we actually
It comes
cast
back to
those
this
votes
principle
effectively?
of
Living has that completely
manifestation.
different
Well, the
path.
answer
Yeah,
lies
that
in
very
understanding the
little
invisible
under the
ground.
ground.
Texture creates what's
What
visible
happens
above.
to
She
yourself.
achieved a full
Achievable
four-stage
four-stage
loop that the
Right.
material
And there's a
breaks
key
down
investment,
brilliantly.
the eye quadrant.
All
Rental
habits,
property,
good or
gold,
bad,
silver.
proceed
First
through these
have to
four
life
stages
callings
in the
mean she had
exact
to be
same
poor.
order.
She
She
understood
understood
the
the
I
must
craving
first
That really
response
drives
to
the
be
point home.
invisible.
Like
Your
job
job
title
title
doesn't have
escape.
to define your
This
financial
four-step
reality.
pattern is the
You
backbone of
definitely
every
see
single
its power.
habit.
You see the
Precisely.
lights turn on.
It's
You
hard.
feel
First,
the heat.
hard work.
You wouldn't
Not
say it
right,
doesn't
like
exist
mentally
just because you
predicting a
can't see the
reward.
electrons.
It's the
Great
emotional
analogy. It's a bit of
and,
information for our
and
ancestors,
trying to
only
about
change
finding
the
food
outer
or water.
result.
The source
Today,
uses
it's often linked to
secondary
the
rewards,
invisible
like
causes.
money,
You
fame,
can know what you should
or
eat
that's
or
just
which
setting yourself up
exercises
for
to do.
frustration
That's the
and
mental
fighting
part.
against
Then comes the
But actually
craving,
doing it
which is the
consistently.
motivational
So how does
reward.
this
The
relate
desire
to
that takes something
money
else.
specifically?
Emotional
Without craving,
craving,
you
you
have
have
no
no
quadrants
quadrants
of existence.
Exactly.
The response
It
is the
requires
physical,
tackling
the
the
mental, the
underlying
emotional,
emotional
and
stuff,
spiritual.
the habits,
Finally,
the
the
beliefs.
reward
And
satisfies
the physical
Changing
world, where we see
quadrants,
our
closing the
bank
feedback,
balance
especially
or
teaching your
right.
brain which
It's
actions
This
basically
are
journey
worth
of developing
remembering.
yourself
It's a result,
it's quite elegant when you
reflection
look
of
at it
what's
that
going
way.
on in the
And
other
what holds
What's
people
crucial to
back.
grasp is that if
Emotional
any of these four
often
stages are
seems to
insufficient,
fear.
the
Fear
behavior
is
simply
huge.
won't become a habit.
Fear of not having
Remove
enough
the
help
cue
or
when it
fear
never
of
starts.
failing.
They're all just
So they
reduce the
cling to the
craving, you
perceived
won't experience
security
any
according to the
motivation
fear
to
as
act.
yes. job.
Make the
They are
behavior too
results.
difficult, you
Trying to
can't
live
do
in a
that
world of
fear. And if the
cause and
reward
effect.
fails
actually
to
points to
satisfy
something
your
like the
desire,
Darwin
they don't just
conclusion,
train you
reason to
physically
repeat
and
it.
another
Train you
wealth
Our brains are
emotionally,
truly
truly
powerful.
face
And
fear,
lack
to
of money
handle
is never the real
uncertainty.
repetition.
That kind
Never
of
the real
resilience, that
pick up on
holistic
always
development is what's needed for the
without even
B&I
having
side,
thought.
where things aren't
But
always
this leads to
predictable.
a critical
Okay,
point.
that's
ties
a big
into
statement.
how people on the right
Once
side
habits
So,
become
if it's a
automatic,
symptom,
we
we need to
completely
find the
stop paying
cause.
attention
It has,
to
which
what
brings
we're
us
doing.
back to the Thomas Edison quote.
Exactly.
Where does this programming
Change
actually
fail
come
always
from?
starts with the work.
How did these roots
That's why I
get planted?
successfully found out the source
not
is trace
where
it maybe
1,000
back
you
to
to
childhood
childhood
I am turning
Your
on
subconscious
reframes
failure,
just
young,
flicking the
That
switch.
failure
or-
becomes learning.
The habit
That's what
Data
largely
collection.
shapes
Exactly.
automatic. In
Automatically
school, you make a
patterns,
mistake,
down
mark
mark
down
decisions,
decisions,
bad
drives
grades,
your
your
actions,
patterns,
and
punishment.
ultimately
But in
incredibly
business or
powerful.
investing?
Mistakes are
Become
inevitable.
more aware.
They break it down into
Intuition,
three
Yeah,
main
add a
how you
layer of
learn, how you
awareness.
get better.
Okay,
You
especially
need
as we
the
shift
first
from
is
understanding
verbal
the theory to
process.
building
This is
practical
basically
strategies.
everything you heard about
Not as,
money.
Material
proof that you're not
emphasizes a
bad.
crucial
Okay,
first step
so
for
mindset,
creating good
money
habits.
doesn't grow on
People who
trees.
make a specific next
Or
for
money
when
is
and
the
where
root of
they
all
will
evil.
perform a new
Safer
habit
day,
are more
rich
likely
people
to
have to
follow
learn
through.
the language of money, especially for
This
those
targeted
phrases.
approach is known as
And the
implementation
absolute
intention.
foundation of that
Yeah,
language.
and a Great Britain
They
study on
become
automatic
habits.
habits
Highlighted
you
this
must
vividly.
take playing in your head.
While
and
tracking
working
workouts and
So
even
how do you deal
pure
with that?
motivation
If
had
it's
little
subconscious,
analytical
it
impact.
takes
The
money
sources
out of your
lay out a
pocket.
remarkable
End of story.
91%
That's the core
is
definition.
And this is where the
You
source
actually have
gets
to listen for
a
these
bit
statements
controversial
in your
for
own
some
thought.
people,
Pretend
right?
that you write them 20
Saying
minutes
your
of
house
vigorous exercise on
is
day
often a
after
liability.
Become aware
Yeah,
of the
that
tape.
throws
Extra
people
seconds
seconds. Think about it
once
purely
a
from
week.
your
Wow,
standard
91%.
perspective.
Yeah,
Even
more
if you
than
pay
half
off
of
the
the
mortgage,
mortgage,
specific
money
sweep
sweeps
away
months
going
out,
affected your
taxes,
finances,
insurance,
more,
repairs,
and the
utilities,
utilities
Right, it's taking money out of your pocket every
Third,
month.
disassociation.
So by that
This is
definition,
crucial.
you can also
It's a
use habit
liability.
stacking,
Now,
which
it might
leverages
appreciate in
existing
value
momentum
that's
by
different
tying
through, and
desired
they aren't
behavior to
inherently
something
you. You
you're
can
already
choose
consistently
different cash
do.
flow.
So detach from so after I
It
go to
costs
bed at
you
night,
money.
I will give my partner
Exactly.
a
Source
kiss.
also points
Or,
out, hey, your
after I put on my
mortgage,
running
that's
shoes,
an
I will
asset
text
on
a
the
friend
bank.
or
This is
family
about
member where I'm
actively
running and how long it will
reprogramming.
take.
Right.
And the source even
They
breaks down
suggest
the words like
specific
mortgage.
actions. Like
Connecting
literally putting
death
your
and
hand on your
pledge
heart and
or
saying
a
something
profound
like,
but
what I
often
heard
And
about money
finance
isn't
related
necessarily
to a
true.
penalty
I
or
choose
fine.
to adopt new ways of
really
thinking.
paints
Like
debt
that's for my
differently.
happiness. It does. It makes
No
you
flop.
ask,
Saying it out loud.
a seemingly small change in money to lots of people in your head. I have a
You're
millionaire
poor.
mind.
But if lots of
living
people
and
are
sounding in an
maybe a bit
environment filled with
You're
productive
the
wealthier.
idea is to
The
use
rich use
strong
debt,
emotional
the
and
source says,
physical
but
energy
differently.
to
Totally
install the
differently.
new
They might
beliefs.
take on
Okay, so that's
huge
verbal
debts, but
programming,
only if
and
an
on that
asset
note,
like a
the
rental
habits can often
property
be
is paying
easier to
that
change
debt
in a new
off.
environment.
They keep their
This isn't
personal
about
debt
what you
Leaving
can
behind
earn money
old
on yourself.
environmental
Really
cues,
small.
what your
Say,
parents
and the
regard as
bedroom
bedroom television that triggers the
Exactly.
night watch,
How do they
which is
behave?
a living
Were they
room where you always
savers?
play video
Spenders?
games.
Did they
It
invest?
makes
Were they
forming new
afraid of
habits
risk?
much
Bigger
smoother.
houses
either.
money
Tax
talked
because you're
about
not battling
easily,
those
or was
old
it always a
behavioral
source
biases.
of argument?
Very
The most
few
compelling
tax
evidence
It's
for
that
environment
unconscious
change comes
imitation.
from that
While the
Vietnam
B&I just
War
picking
heroin
things up
addiction
without
study.
realizing.
Totally. The
Significant
sources
found
have that funny story
the
about
tax
being
code,
intense
as
Oh,
the
yeah,
source of
cutting the
heroin
hands
in
off.
was
Vietnam,
really set up to
eliminated
generate
business
family
overnight
custody
upon
ends off the
returning
hands.
home.
He's a nice
I
guy,
know.
generate income
Turns
inside
out,
a corporation.
great-grandma
Almost
only did it
overnight.
pay
Just
expenses
the
first,
radical
then
change
But everyone else
in
just
environment
copied the
away from all
action
the
without
traditions of
asking
war.
why.
gets
It
taxed right off the
perfectly
top
illustrates
for
how
how
we
social
observe
behaviors.
behaviors.
The source calls it
Allow
like
the author
being a
shares their own
50-50 partner with the
experience
government
mirroring
from
their
day
father's
one.
financial
This finding
So,
directly
understanding
mounts
that
the old belief that
language,
losing was a
assets,
permanent
liabilities,
irreversible
debt,
condition,
taxes, repeated
underscoring
cycle.
the power of
Until they
environment, the
become aware
foundation
of
you
that
need
power.
before
Now
you
there's
can really
also a
start
flip side
building
to
a
modeling
effectively on the
dimension.
right
Rebelling,
side.
suggests
doing the
to
complete
predecessor.
opposite.
Exactly.
Building in the
Maybe your
B&I
parents were
20s.
really
Let's
frugal,
talk
so
B
you
for
become a big
yeah.
spender,
It's far easier
or
to
they
practice
struggle, so
self-reflection.
you're
You don't have
driven
to
to
use
be
the
rich.
Remember that
Almost
story,
out of
it's less
Ed
about
Bill
wishing
Water.
you were a
Like
bucket
shows
carrier
them,
versus
or
a pipeline
I'll
builder.
never
More
be
about creating a
Exactly.
more
But that
disciplined
can be tricky
environment
too.
for yourself.
If your
How do
main
we
drive
reduce
for
the
wealth
mental
is
effort?
rooted in
Money
anger or
stops.
fear,
Build
any good
pipeline
habit, your
habit,
subconscious
the
links
system.
money
He
to
builds a
negative
system that
feelings.
delivers water.
Oh, I
Habits
Generates
are
income,
essential,
as you
even
get
when he's
more
not
money.
the
physically
underlying
hauling anything.
anger
The more
or
definitive
fear
McDonald's
might
example
actually
fits here
friction
too,
there is
doesn't it?
between
And
the two.
eventually,
Your
the
subconscious
S might focus
this
on
is
making
why
the better
automated
hamburger.
tasks like
Can I make the best burger in town?
invasive. They can
make
be
bad
profound
decisions.
without
The B and
asks,
recklessly.
Can I build a better
anything
habit
to get rid of the money
that's
tied to the bad
It's about the
feeling.
system.
You
That's
see
not
this
just the
concept
product
brilliantly
itself.
applied
B
on the
owners
like.
lead
So the
people
goal is
manufacture
to unlink
systems.
money
And
from
think about
paying value
Japanese
for your
firms
bees
and link it
lean
instead
production.
to
Well,
positive
you could
They
motivation.
create your own
relentlessly
purpose
looked to
contribution
remove
to
waste,
joy,
even
positive.
redesigning
You could buy a
workspaces so
proven
workers didn't
system
have to
from
waste time
franchise.
verbal
Twisting
programming
and
Less
turning
internally to
risky,
reach their
often
tool
easier to get
was
to
the
us.
third way.
Or
This
you
made
could
them
join
more
something
efficient
like
and
a
their
network
products
marketing
more
system
reliable
instance.
because they reduced the friction
These
of
are
buying into an
particular
existing
often
system. The flip
yeah,
side of
becoming
making
part
good
of a
habits
pre-built
easy is
system.
making
The point
bad
is, a
habits
proven
harder.
system reduces
Exactly.
risk.
This is
Okay,
the
so that's
inversion.
B.
Yeah.
Now,
Make
The
bad
example
habits
given is
hard.
the author's
Investing.
Examples include
As a kid,
hiding
money
tempting
working for you
snacks in the back of the
seems
fridge,
crucial for real
deleting social
It's often
media
seen
apps
as
from
the
your
ultimate
phone,
goal for long-term
or
financial freedom.
money
Victor
Hugo
Hugo locking away his
hardwired
clothes
spin
to
off
literally
cash.
force himself to
Passive
write
income.
the Hunchback
And the
of
source
Notre
talks about a
Dame.
big shift
So the
away
author's
from
own
the industrial
cash
age
linked
to
money
the
more
He made it
information age.
incredibly
Right.
difficult
Well,
to
back
leave
then,
his
maybe
study
you had a
and
defined
work
benefit
for
structure.
These are commitment
company to
devices,
prepare you after
choices you
years
make
of
now that
loyalty.
control your
Now
future
it's
Exactly.
mostly
actions.
She wanted the pleasure
Binding you
now.
to good
He
habits
wanted the
and
freedom
restricting you
later.
from bad
Which
ones.
means
different
Entrepreneur
emotional
Brian
needs
Harris,
tied
for
to money
instance, used
create
a habit
need to
contract
learn
with
how
his
to
wife
invest
and personal
yourself.
trainer,
The
creating
source even
escalating
raises
financial and
suggestion
social
is for
punishment.
partners to
It's like
actually
wearing a
talk about
rival
Medicare
team's
will be
hat
do an exercise
for missing
together.
weight loss
Uncover your
targets.
individuality,
history,
that'll do it. Figure out
This
what money
dramatically
means
increased the
emotionally
immediate
to
cost.
Successful
you.
investors
Habits,
aren't just
making them
status,
much less
pleasure,
appealing.
freedom. The
Gambling
ultimate
on
way to
stocks.
lock in
No,
future
not the ones that
behavior
source
is to
structure.
automate your
They're
habits
focused
on
on
technology
rules that
or
work
one-time
Yeah.
purchases.
Cash flow
Consciously
for good
design how
mattress
you'll
for
handle
better
money
sleep,
together,
Monopoly
blackout
game
curtains,
Exactly.
email
Filtering
filters,
houses,
website
then one
blockers
And
for
how do you change
productivity,
the
automatic
impact
savings
of
deductions,
those
or
past
meal
hotel
deals
habits?
even more.
It follows
Makes
the
sense.
similar
Automation
patterns
frees
as
up
the
time and
verbal
energy
Plus
for
the tax
tasks
advantages
machines
we
can't
talked
do.
Recall the specific
However,
ingredients
it's
of
double
feelings
edged
around
sword.
it.
Huge advantage.
Technology
And
can also work
interestingly,
against
See
this
how
source
that
says
single
getting
habit
good
might
at
still
D
be
first
influencing your
like
can help you
autoplay
be
on
better off.
streaming
Disassociation
services.
Yeah, there's a logic
glued
there.
to the
A
screen.
successful
Recognize
B
it
Corp
was a
role.
past learning
Okay,
experience.
a final powerful strategy for
then
making
the
habits
what's
easy,
the
especially when
okay.
you're just
Right.
starting,
Understanding
is the
markets,
2 minute
I
rule.
release my
Right.
non-supportive
When
systems
beginning any new
experiences from the
habit,
past.
it should
All
take
that
less than
knowledge
2
from
minutes
running
to
a
do.
business
So,
is incredibly
read a
valuable
page,
when you're
I have a millionaire
mind.
practice the violin,
Reinforcing
not
the
practice
choice.
for an hour.
So
The
by
2 minute
eliminating what we
habit
heard,
is the
what we
entry
saw,
sounds like
not
the
the
experience.
experience.
It's the
We can
catalyst
start
that
to
gets you
decode
to
our
our
own
own, not the
blueprint.
entire
not at
workout.
all.
Understand
The
why our
source is
financial
really clear.
overcoming the initial
Business
inertia.
and really empowering part
So
is
we've
the
covered
message
how
that
to
it's
make
not
habits
obvious
You
and
can
easy to
consciously
start.
choose
Ah,
to
okay.
reprogram.
But
So it's
how
about
do we
learning
make
to
sure we
manage
want
the
to keep
next
doing
big
that?
idea. Run away
Yeah.
from it.
That
Actively
brings us
changing your
that's a
thinking.
fascinating
Installing
mindset
new wealth
from
files,
the E
as the source is
quadrant
called.
to increase the
goals
odds.
often
The
behavior
core
occur
premise
when
is
they
that
need to make
rich
it
people
entirely.
simply think
This
differently
starts
about
with
money,
understanding the
The
wealth
source even
means
mentioned Warren
success
Buffett
than
on
poor or
diversification.
middle class.
Yeah,
Isn't just
saying
about pleasure.
diversification
And
is
these
basically
different ways of
thinking
thinking
not
wealth
wealth
files
which is powerfully
fine for
driving
many
our
who choose to
motivation.
but concentration.
Okay, let's dive into some how
investments
powerful that
knowledge,
distinction is.
requires more
Think about the
work.
minds
What's a
who
major
receive
one?
the
But
powerful
can
hit of
actually
dopamine
increase
each
your
time
real
they poke
risk.
their nose
People
in a
play
box,
the
they
money
start
game
doing
to
it
win.
800 times.
True
an hour.
investors
crazy,
learn not to
right?
win.
They don't
The same
fear
could be said
market
for
volatility.
highly
What
habit
was the
forming
difference?
They see it as
behaviors like
Playing to
taking
win
drugs,
means
a
your
chance to
goal
junkies,
buy good
browsing
assets
social
when they're
media,
on sale,
or even
being
basic
true
needs
others
like
are
food and
panic. It's
water.
offensive
The source,
strategy.
the greater the
Playing not to
anticipation
lose
of
means
the
your
reward, the
primary
greater
goal
the
is just
dopamine
survival.
spike that drives
Maybe
that IHC.
comfort and
One
security.
effective
I'm too
strategy
busy
leveraging
trying to
risk.
avoid
Temptation
running out
who
of
just
money
hands
rather
their
than
money
aiming
over
for
to
Pairing
an
an
action
action
you
and
want to do with an
hopes for
action
What's
you
the
need
issue
to
there?
play
You
to
need
win.
advisors,
Sources
right?
you
Yeah,
need
absolutely.
a
need
good example
advisors.
from the
The
source
source's
is,
point is,
after
if
I get
you
my
are
morning
financially
coffee,
illiterate,
current
your
network,
advisors are
I will say
hammered.
one thing I'm
And they have
grateful
that
for that
slightly
happens
Legally and
uncomfortable action
practically,
item for this one.
They
Yeah,
can
ordering
often
something
only
market price
recommend
and
you
nice
can
very
choose
conservative,
subject
low
matter
risk,
just
low
immediately
yield
after
strategies,
zone of
diversified
insecurity.
mutual funds.
Definitely
maybe.
pushes a button
Because
for
if they
many
recommend
people.
something
Thanks
more
for another key
sophisticated and
This
you don't
one's
And it's not just
understand it
about
and
what
it
you
goes
want
wrong.
individually,
Rich
they could
people
be
are
liable. We
committed.
also have stronger
Exactly.
to
So your
poor
lack of
people
education
absolutely.
limits their ability to
Wanting
help you
versus
with potentially
commitment.
better
Joining a culture
strategies.
where you're
Because
the
the
advisor
behavior
can
It's
only be
presented
as
as a
educated
massive
as you
difference.
allow
is
them to
incredibly
be,
Billions want
based on your own
And
understanding.
4 out of 10
That's
people
wanting.
and
You need to
astronauts
get
Mike
educated
Massimino's
for commitment.
MIT
Then
robotics
you can
class
really
teaches
buy
us
whatever it
that.
takes
Legal
legally,
understanding and
morally,
culture
and you
there.
can actually
Solomon
understand their
Ash's
advice and make
conformity
informed
experiment
decisions.
showed nearly
Active,
75% of subjects
dedication.
conformed to
reservations
obviously
about
wrong
asking
all-in
your
insurance
That's the
sales,
idea.
indicating
If
that
you're
the
not
motivation
fully
would
committed,
rather be
opt
wrong with
out.
the crowd
Yeah,
than right
exactly.
with the commitment.
It's
You
What
need
else?
your own
approval,
financial
How do they think
respect,
differently
and
about
evaluate from the
measuring
group
wealth?
naturally make
Which
a
means
behavior much
people
more
focus
tracking your
on net
mind.
worth. Another simple
see
and
what
middle
others
class
don't
people
see.
tend to focus only
Like
on their
Rich
work
Dad said.
income.
It's
Instead
not
of
what
saying,
your
I
eyes
have
income
to wake
alone
up
isn't
and
wealth.
for work.
not according to
Try
this
saying
report.
net worth
Deals,
is a real
the
net worth.
agreements
That's
with
everything you
market
own your
trends,
assets
the
minus
management
everything
team
you
that
owe your
packs
reflection
applications.
from
Okay.
all that
And there are
and
4
stuff.
factors that drive
The
net worth.
95%
You
that is
exercise
important is a way to
obvious
develop
on the
skills
surface,
and build
saving
financial
money instead of
intelligence is
draining
about
energy
learning
to
to
chase
or
that.
saving
Which
money
brings
as
us right back
increasing your
around to the
future
internal
freedom
game.
instead
This
of
isn't just
Exactly.
spreadsheets and
actively
strategies.
Not at all
decreasing your
cost
cost
of
of
living
living
to
is
attract
emotional,
more to save
money
fast.
brings
Okay,
up
so
powerful
people
emotions.
just focus on income,
but then they hit
those are the big
Parkinson's.
ones.
Parkinson's
And the force
law.
argues that your
It
financial
makes
IQ
rise
is
to the
massively
income.
influenced by your
tackles
emotional
that get a raise,
problem
you spend more.
earlier.
The
It
instant
doesn't
gratification
automatically build
Erasmus
wealth unless you
saying
Our
the
brains are
emotional
wired
brain is
for
way
Rich people
stronger
focus
than
on
the
acquiring
rational.
assets,
Something
things
like
that go up in
generations
value
lived
or
in an
produce
immediate
income,
return.
which
Which
explains why we sometimes
the
make
cost of
completely
poor
illogical
people to
financial
financial
choices
choices
based
or
on
things that
things
depreciate.
Like buying a car based on the
Cars
easy
or
monthly
gadgets.
payment, not
Often
the
cost
total
of bad
cost, or
habits,
whether the
however,
action
are in
here
the
is actually
future.
track your
Exactly.
net worth.
Emotion
Know the
overrides
number.
logic. Yes, track
And those
your
emotions
fundamental
fuel limiting
and
thoughts too, right?
consciously work
Being
on all
intelligent.
four
Oh,
wins
absolutely.
over
Increasing
future
income,
income,
saving more,
to
investing
truly get a
wisely,
habit to
stick,
stick, simplifying
you
your
need to
life
feel
balance.
successful
Maybe
immediately
not
in real
smart
estate, even in a
investing
very,
small
as the
way.
author's
The
parents.
source has
Immediate
that line.
rewards
Okay,
are
that makes
essential
sense.
to
All
keep you
managing the
excited
money
and
you do
engaged,
have seems
while
critical.
those
They
delayed
reflect
long-term
long-term
rewards
insight as to what
accumulate
rich
in the
people
background.
manage their money well.
Poor
This leads
people
us to the
mishandle
cardinal
or
rule
avoid it
your
altogether.
personal
Why
truth.
is
What is
managing so
immediately
important,
rewarded
even
is
if you don't
rewarded.
have much yet?
What is immediately
Principles
punished
here
is
power you
avoided.
back.
Right.
Simple
And
but
until you
powerful.
show the universe or
This is where
yourself
habit
or
tracking
whatever
comes
you
in
believe
so
start a
beautifully.
business that you can handle what you've
It
already
creates a
got.
visual
Divorce
block
you
that
get, maybe
reminds
that's a
you that
reflection of your
kid
own
in the
fear.
ice cream
Is
cone.
inherently
Maybe your
motivated
inability
to
to
see
see
the
the
progress
progress
you
you
are
are
making
making
and
and
don't
don't
want to
want to
lose
lose
it.
it.
It's
And
not
feels
necessarily
incredibly
about
satisfying
the habit of
when it
managing
happens.
money
It's
is
about
deemed
successful
more
instance
important than
of
the
your
amount you're
habit.
managing.
Yeah,
Initial
have to
check
So
marks
what kind
doubt,
of
sure.
systems do they
But then
suggest?
specific
and
one
intrinsic
using multiple
visual
accounts.
proof
And the
that your
antidote
A
cash
key
flow
one
is
is the
for your new
financial freedom
identities.
account.
However,
Action.
That
a
is
critical
only for
caveat
investors
here is
good
good
for
Hart's
buying
law.
assets that
When
generate
a measure
passive
becomes a
income
target,
never
you gotta
ceases to
fan
be a
the
flame
flames
of
of
your
Oh, okay,
passion.
for
Explain
building
that.
wealth.
Your
Well,
fear
there's
has
not
another
optimized
interesting
solely
one.
for what we measure,
Keep
which
playing
can
in your
sometimes
heart
lead to the
of
wrong
heart.
behavior.
Passion
But
builds
focusing
funds.
solely on
Exactly.
quarterly
Fear
earnings can
paralyzes.
lead
A
to
certain
account
percentage
debt.
goes into
Passion
this
gives
account.
you
Or
the
just
fuel
trying to
push
hit
through
the
the
end of
inevitable
every steps
obstacles
without true
and fear.
health as
And
the
who do you
things
hang
that
out
make you
with?
feel pampered.
That affects
Measurement
your
should
passion
guide
and your
you and
mindset.
add context
That
to a
sounds
larger
counterintuitive
picture.
to
The source
say.
not
Blunt.
consume
It
you
does,
to the
but the
exclusion of
rationale is
time with
twofold.
is your future.
One,
The key
it makes the
is
whole process more
don't break
enjoyable,
the
less
chain.
about
It really
deprivation.
is. It
One,
suggests you
two, it's
literally
really
write
hard
down,
receiving
never
this
miss it
twice in a
twice.
row.
It helps you feel
Okay,
comfortable
don't let
having
one
and
slip become a
spending
slide.
money on
They're
yourself,
valued. That's a great
balancing the
conversation.
saving and
How they
investing
think about
disciplines.
money and risk.
So you don't
We've
feel
talked
guilty
about
about
building new
enjoying life
habits.
while
Your
building
thought
wealth.
is
Right.
truly it keeps things in
And the
balance.
tough part.
The
Ultimately,
underlying
our
wealth
genes
Maybe
principle
changing
here
your
plays
future
stark
means changing some
either
of the
you
future.
in influencing many aspects
even
of
if they're
behavior,
great
from
friends,
our
if
life
they're
management
stuck
to
in a
how you
mindset
stress
that pulls you
response,
away from
and
the
even
And
how
that focus on
captivated or
investing
bored we
leads to
feel.
the
The
next
source
slide,
suggests you
doesn't
might
it?
need to consciously
Rich people
adjust.
have their
Behavioral
money work
geneticists
hard
say
for
they
them.
literally
Poor
can't find
people
a
work
single
hard for
trait
it
that
is.
isn't influenced
This
by
is
our
a
choices.
fundamental
That's
essential
true, but this
for growth.
doesn't mean you're stuck with whatever
Income,
hand you're
trading
dealt.
your time
If you
for
can't
dollars.
find a
Wow,
game
to
or a
pass it,
niche
we've covered
where
a
the
lot.
money
Just
coming
staff,
in,
whether you're
your
actively
mindset,
working
material
behind
skills,
it,
you
the
being
BNI
That's the
skills,
goal
Create
for
your own
true
game.
financial
crucial
freedom.
internal
When you're
gains.
Scott
Passive
Adams, the
income
Dilbert
Where does
experiment
someone
is a
actually
great
start?
example.
How
You're
do you
no
become the
longer
first
dependent
step?
on your
Average
key
drawing
messages,
And where does
skills,
passive
average
income
stroke
come
writing
from?
skills,
Two main
and a
sources
business
baby
background to
steps.
create
Money
Not a
working
giant
for
leap.
you, invest
No
no one
one
else.
else
Stocks,
Don't try to
bonds,
change
real
everything
estate
overnight.
rentals,
Might be
financial
better.
success,
Paid
paid
dividends
dividends,
or
or interest
isn't about the
or
size of
buying
your
strides.
and
It's about the
business
number of
steps
steps you
consistently
systematically create
in
that
the right
generate
direction.
That's a
income
powerful
without
way
your
of looking at it.
constant
Yeah.
presence.
Find
Messing
your
up
unique
royalties,
combination.
Licensing, get out of
But what
analysis
about
or even
motivation?
well-structured study
Expert
and study,
athletes
but
and
never
incredibly
actually do
successful
anything
getting
because you're
passive
afraid to
feel
do
the
income,
same lack
which
of
the source
motivation
says
as
happens
everyone
a lot
else.
with kind of
I
natural
absolutely
to
do.
most people,
Because
right?
school
We're
taught
taught
to
to work
work
for our
six.
money.
Right,
Material
it's deep
points
conditioning.
is they
It
still find a way to
requires
show
short-term
up
short-term,
despite the
you feel
work.
down paycheck
Mastery
to a
requires
long-term
practice.
financial learning
And
is
the more
building
you practice
assets
something,
that
the more
doing,
boring
making
your
mistakes,
So actions here are
adjusting.
things
That's a
like
tough
It's
pill to
mental,
swallow for most
emotional,
of
and
us.
physical.
Actively looking
This is
for
where
passive.
So what are
variable
some
rewards can help.
concrete
They won't
baby
create a
steps?
craving,
jeopardy.
But they are a
Yes,
powerful
educating
way to
yourself,
amplify
clear on
the
your
cravings we
steps,
already
even
define
small ones,
and reduce
what's your
boredom
5-year
like
goal
passive
for passive
stream.
income?
Okay, we
Sort
talked a
of
lot about
sense.
mindset.
What's your
Sweet
1-year
spot
desire
goal.
occurs
Maybe
at
cutting
roughly
debt
a
or
50-50
increasing
None of it
split
happens
between
without
success
Write it
and
down.
failure.
Doing makes sense.
Action.
Just enough
Have
winning
second,
to feel
get
satisfied,
control of your
and
cash,
just
your
enough
inner world
wanting to
thoughts,
stay
to know where
motivated.
your money is
Blueprint
going
to
now.
your
This is
outer
the
world.
Goldilocks
Spending.
rule in
Thoughts and
action.
identify the
The
leads,
balance, the
actions,
liabilities
actions,
without
results
the
that
bad
chain.
debt.
And then it circles back to
Changing your
consistency.
thinking is
source
It can
vital.
only do
specific
the work
strategies
when it's
to translate
convenient
into
or
define,
exciting.
say, an
You'll
extra
never
150.
achieve
And here's a
remarkable
really
results.
freeing
Never.
wealth principle.
Stepping
One
up
credit
when
card.
annoying,
It is
painful,
not
or
necessary
draining
to
do
try and
so.
get rid of
fear
That's
once
what
it's
truly
paid off.
differentiates
Snowball
a
it.
professional.
Take
You
that
don't have to
whole
conquer
payment
fear
amount
first
and
and
add
add
it
it
to
to
the
the minimum on the
reflection
next
and
card.
practice
Exactly.
essential for
Snowball
long-term
it.
improvement and
In spite of
sustainment.
doubts,
Goals?
worry, discomfort,
Cash
mental
flow,
swimmer,
debt
Katie
reduction.
Ledecky, even when you're just
Third,
wellness and training.
Education.
Wow.
Marathoner,
Commit
Act
time to
despite
it.
the
schedule
fear.
it with an
That's
appointment,
the key.
maybe 5
Which
hours a
connects
week.
to that
Doing
formula.
Searching for
what?
reading
Seeing
financial news,
W.
Taking notes
websites,
after
books,
comfort zone
without
equals
listening
wealth
to podcasts
zone.
like
Right.
this
Easy to
one,
make
hopefully.
accessible.
If you stay in
If
your
you're
playing a
comfort zone,
cash
wealth
end
zone,
game, we lie to ourselves.
maybe
You
it's
only
only
grow
seminar.
personally and
The
financially.
author tells
when
the
you
story
step
about
outside your
making
millions
implications
from
of
what
all
he
this.
learns
You
in
listen
just
to
one
But our minds
$385
fight dive into
real
habits. They
estate
invent
school.
wheels that they're not
actually
about
apply
simply
it.
ticking
That's
off
the key.
boxes.
The
Or
sources
achieving
call the mind
external
the master of
successes like
disaster.
earning more money
Always
or
creating
getting
worst
worse.
case scenarios.
Find
Like
the
people
real
who have
reason
already
habits
done
matter.
what you wanted to, worried about a lot of
Perform
things
habits
that never happened.
and
It's
maybe
not about
reverse
taking
role
action,
models, too.
especially
People who
comfortable
show you what
action
not
is what
to do.
actually
Happiness
requires
is learn
one
from
source
both.
of
Find
kind
people
of
who
the action
successfully
itself
walk
changes
between
you.
one desire being
Exactly.
fulfilled
And
and
cause
then
questions
change
at a cellular
learn
level.
to
Desire
build
initiates
resilience.
behavior.
And the
One
fifth
more
step
sounds
sounds
like
like
really
that
key
immediate
wealth files would do
satisfaction
something.
discussed
Pretty
is what
much.
The
ultimately
difference in
Take
learning.
action. Any
Habits are the
action, even
consistent
small.
path to changing
Make
your
low ball
identity.
offers on
By making
Pro
small,
or
consistent
properties that
choices,
they already
you
know.
cast
This is
powerful
flagged
votes
as
in
the
Join a
person
person
network
you aspire
marketing
to be,
company to
thinking you know
practice
it all. Each
sales and
action
learn
is
about
evidence of who
systems.
you
If
are.
you're not as
Building an
successful or
invaluable
very
trust
small
in
amount of
yourself.
money in something,
And
just
here's
the
the
basic
basic
premise,
premise, you're
if
forced to
desire
pay
and there's
attention to
something
learn.
you don't know
The
yet.
source
How
really
might you
echoes that famous
intentionally
slogan,
design
doesn't it?
both
Success
your
there
environment
gets
and
started.
design some
And the
innate
catch-up flow
gift.
game
It's
comes
a
again
learnable
here
skill,
as
like
a
any
tool for this
skill.
kind of
Think
learning.
about it. Every